Hey everybody, welcome back to another horror movie video. I actually kind of enjoyed making the last one quite a bit. Nobody really watched it, but I honestly don't really care that much. This is kind of a fun thing for me to do. So today, me, you, whoever else is watching, we are going to hang out, have a fun time, and rank my personal top five favorite disturbing horror movies. I don't know if they're necessarily my favorite. Kind of threw this list together a bit haphazardly this morning, but they're definitely five that I would recommend. Heavy content warning for each of these. Obviously, I'll go into more specifics to the best of my ability with each one as I go through them, as to hopefully give you a glimpse as to what you may or may not want to view. But anyhow, it's gonna be a fun time. I got this Hereditary shirt on right now. You can you guys can consider that one an honorable mention. There's gonna be some movies. I mean, most of the movies on here are have some degree of popularity. The one in the number one spot might not as much. I don't want to say it's niche or anything because plenty of people have watched it. I found it off of YouTube recommendations, but there's not a lot of actual content relating to the first place spot. I'm not sure if that's due to the subject matter of the movie or just the obscurity of such. But Hereditary is a fantastic one, just not on the list yet. So let's dive into the list. If you like this content, feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'm really happy to interact with people. I'll try to interact with comments to the best of my ability. You guys got any cool video ideas, whether it be horror related or just other things you want to see, I'd be happy to listen, so feel free to let me know. Alrighty, so in the number 5 spot, if I remember to put an image right here, we're gonna have Videodrome. Now, a lot of you have most likely watched Videodrome at some point, but if you haven't, go watch it right now. I'm not sure what it can be watched on. I personally just rented it on YouTube because if I like a movie enough, I will, or if I like the idea of a movie enough, I will do that. But Videodrome is fantastic. As for content warnings of this movie, it's not the most graphically disturbing. It is a Cronenberg movie. If any of you have ever seen a Cronenberg movie, you'll know how that is. If you haven't, he's known for his amazing practical effects. Think something out of John Carpenter's The Thing. Videodrome, in my personal opinion, is it's a fantastic movie that just ages better and better with each year. I'm not going to go too far into the plot because honestly the whole enjoyment of the movie comes from watching the plot unwind and the fact that the main character is also not fully aware of what's going on along with you, but the practical effects are amazing. Phenomenal synth soundtrack, and I will say the general themes within the movie of just the influence of violent media is very interesting. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with a lot of the things the movie has to say, but it sure as hell is an interesting watch. It really is beautiful. Now in the 4th spot right over here, we got Tales from the Hood. Now, I'm not sure how many people would agree with this being on a disturbing movie list, but I personally consider it to be a very disturbing film. I know a lot of people do. I can't necessarily elaborately speak on a lot of the themes of it because it isn't really my place to talk about a lot of the issues discussed in the movie. But I think out of all the movies, out of all the horror films that I have watched centered around race, I'm not sure if I would consider it the best because I don't always like saying that certain movies are better than others because a lot of movies do a lot of things very differently. But Tales from the Hood is a beautiful, beautiful film. It is funny at times. It has an amazing soundtrack, but it is deeply, deeply disturbing with almost every story and the thematics of it, with everything from police brutality to bad things that happen to children, because I can't say that on YouTube, to corrupt politicians. It's a heavy film. I think if you are sensitive to very, very realistic depictions of racial violence, I would stay away from this one. Not it's definitely a hard watch. It is an anthology movie, and the last segment in particular, skip ahead like probably a minute or two if you don't want to be spoiled on it, but the last segment has to do a lot with brainwashing, and during one of the segments they show a lot of flashes of racial violence, and a lot of those images are very, very real photos of actual things that happened to people that were very graphic. So if you can't handle that kind of thing, I would definitely stay away from this film. But it certainly deeply disturbed me when I first watched it, but it stuck with me, and it was really a beautiful and fantastic watch, honestly. All right, over in third place, we're starting to get weird. We got Evil Dead Trap. Not Evil Dead, Evil Dead Trap. This has nothing to do with Evil Dead, first and foremost. Title might be disturbing. Title might be confusing. A little. But it is a Japanese film about a reporter who investigates tapes that she finds of people being, which, by the way, the first tape, again, skip ahead like a minute if you don't want to be spoiled. It's not heavy spoilers, but it's just kind of like the disturbing nature of it. If you don't like eye stuff, you're gonna have a rough time with this movie. Right off jump, I would say this movie kicks it to 100. The first death in this movie is very graphic, despite how often it cuts away, and it keeps getting stranger. From that point on, once she goes with her friends to investigate it, you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's gonna be your standard serial killer hunts people down in a facility, traps them. This is around the point where I would say content warning if you watch this movie. A lot of essay in this movie. I was pretty uncomfortable with one of the scenes in particular. There's a scene where a woman gets assaulted, and it's a very long segment. I believe that it is to speak on the horrors of such actions, but I'm not necessarily very comfortable with watching that scene a second time. But besides that, this movie starts off at 100, gets weirder, and then the last 20 minutes or so of this film, and let me tell you this, if there's any movie on this list that you should watch entirely blindly, don't you dare watch any reviews. Watch Evil Dead Trap, because I tell you, you think the movie's going somewhere. You think it's going somewhere. I thought it was going somewhere. I can predict shit pretty well. I was predicting it pretty well for most of it. The last 20 minutes of that film are strange. I'm not going to tell you anything that happens in it, because it is so unusual, so weird. One of the strangest things I've ever seen in a movie. Is straight out of a Cronenberg film, or straight out of The Thing is what I'll say. I feel like giving you just that little tidbit of information should be enticing enough to convince you and go and watch this movie if you want to watch any of them on this list. But it is weird. I haven't watched the sequel, heard it isn't that great, but maybe I will. I'll let you guys know how it is if I do. And over in the number 2 spot, we got I Saw the Devil. Now, I know I told you guys with the last movie to go and watch it, but I'm gonna be that annoying friend right here, right now, that annoying little bastard that hangs out with you. And I'm gonna go, dude, you need to see this one. Because you do. I Saw the Devil, I'm not sure if I would entirely classify it as horror-oriented. Actually, no, it is. It is a horror movie. It's not traditionally styled, but it is horrific as all hell. Now, if you care about watching this movie for yourself, I would probably, honestly, again, skip ahead a few minutes. If you don't want to know plot details, I'm not going to reveal any aspects of the mystery, but I'm going to give you a basic summary. The plot revolves around a police officer who somebody close to him is, you know, offed by a serial killer, and what he decides to do is hunt that person down, and when he catches them, he places a GPS tracker on them, lets him go. And after that point in the movie, we follow this cop hunting down this man who wronged him, who hurt somebody that he loved, harming him in several very, very gruesome and graphic ways. And I don't think I can stress it enough. This movie is graphic. I don't know if it's not particularly over the top like some of these other movies might be, so it's not going to be as fantastical as Videodrome or as flashy as Evil Dead Trap, but the graphicness of the movie is very realistic. The way a person will just drop in this film, it pretty, from what I remember, there's a pretty good amount of gunfights for a horror movie, which I honestly always like. I don't think people go into the fear of those enough. But it's a fantastic film. It's a beautiful revenge movie. Heavy content warnings on the essay. I believe there's a bit of cannibalism in this movie, so if that's not your jam, skip this one. But if you can stomach it, it's really good. And now we're gonna get to go into a movie that you're probably not gonna be able to stomach, because even I had a really hard time. And over in the number one spot, we got Terra Firma. Now I'm gonna go right off the jump and say that it's hard to give any kind of content warning on this movie. So just general overall, if you get like bothered by I not bothered by anything, because that sounds rather rude and condescending to say, but if you're bothered by any of the stuff that you think could be in a movie, it's probably going to be in this movie. It is a Troma film. If you guys don't know Troma, they are the studio that produced Toxic Avenger, which is probably their most famous movie. Combat Shock, Class of Nukem High, Tromeo and Juliet. James Gunn started with them. They make very disturbing movies, very controversial films, as a matter of fact, and this movie is no exception. I watched this one about a month ago over in October, and I would still say that it's probably the grossest thing that I've ever seen. I'm not typically one to recommend people movies that are gross for the sake of being gross, but I think Terra Firma has something to say. Because Terra Firma centers around a crew that is producing a Troma movie, so, you know, a lot of meta jokes. But within this movie set, people actually start dying, and it is a very, very interesting statement, I believe, on the fact that media can be as graphic as it wants while still sending a message. I think that's a very important thing to discuss with graphic media, honestly, is there's a very fine line, I would say. Not all disturbing media is just good. Cannibal Holocaust, for example, terrible movie, never gonna review it, never gonna happen. I feel like I have to say that in a lot of videos because I talk about horror, and I feel like if people ever start actually watching my stuff, I'm gonna get a lot of, yo, dude, talk about Cannibal Holocaust. You want me to talk about Cannibal Holocaust? It's bad. It's exploitative. There you go. I don't care what kind of message it has to send. But Terra Firma sends a very interesting message in the sense that it says you can be gross and still say something. Not all gross things say something, but you can be. And I'm not entirely sure on what this movie has to say, because if you want me to get into the content warnings, I can't really say much of this on YouTube, but for generalization, any kind of liquid or solid that comes out of any orifice is used in this movie. Yes, that means chocolate pudding. Yes, that means, a lot of that. I mean, a lot. I mean, there's really a lot of that. Probably the most amount of nudity I've seen in a film. Honestly, I don't remember how much SAN is in it. Let me check. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot. I'm looking at the Parents Guide right now, and yeah, it's there's a lot. There's some SA in this movie. It's comedic. I'm not gonna go and say that everybody should watch this movie because, like I said, I've seen all these films before. Obviously, I check the Parents Guide every now and then to like make sure that I haven't like missed a lot of content warnings. And I'm telling you, as I'm actively scrolling through this, I can't tell you guys about much of the stuff that happens in this movie. If you want to know some of the more disturbing details, I'd say again, skip ahead a minute or two if you don't want slightly disturbing descriptions. There's a death revolving in an escalator. There is a lot of appendages being pulled off of people and then them being smacked with them. There's a very interesting scene in particular where, seriously, skip ahead if you don't want to hear a description of this. I can't say what the thing is on YouTube because they're not gonna like it, but a vase, a water vase, somebody gets one of those just straight up broken and like and the effects are cheap, but it is gross. I think that this movie really actually gave me more of an appreciation for films like Terrifier because a lot of people will talk about the disturbing nature of those, and I'm not saying that those complaints aren't valid. It's totally okay to not want to watch these kinds of movies. I think that horror fans have a tendency to push the idea that people are bad people if they don't want to watch disturbing things, and no, that's just fine. It's okay to not want to consume those kinds of things. It's kind of exhausting at a point. I like talking about disturbing movies. I don't even watch too many that often in rapid succession, or it really starts to be draining. But this movie is a wild ride, and if you want something crazy, just watch Terror Firma, man. It's a fun time. Anyhow, I think this video has probably gone on about long enough, so I got this cool thing that I found over in Salem. I don't know, I just figured I'd show you guys it. It's this awesome little Dark Lord plushie. He says hello, I say hello, but I also have to say goodbye now because, the video's about to be over. But anyhow, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Once more, like, subscribe, comment if you want to. Totally feel free. Anyhow, have a good one, I guess. I don't know how to end these things, so goodbye, everybody.